Good morning. Okay, so today we're still talking about estates in our tutorials, but in the lecture tomorrow we will move on to discussing equity. And so what I want to do in our tutorials is the first thing that I want to do is work through a couple of conveyances to make sure that we sort of have our heads wrapped around how the conveyances translate to estates and interests. And then the other piece of the today's tutorial will be a survey that I've posted on eLearning to help give me an understanding of how you guys are feeling about the course so far. So let me put the first conveyance into the chat. It would help if I used the right keyboard. I have my laptop and my desktop in front of me, and it's not great when I use the wrong keyboard. Okay. To A for life, then to A's heirs. So what interests are created by this conveyance? Why is fee simple created? Also, who holds it? Right? And interest in land belongs to someone. So the conveyance, you have to say, this is what this person has. So who holds fee simple and why?
Okay, I would say A whole of fee simple. In the land, I'm not too sure what the next part, but it doesn't have any conditions that I could say it's a determinable or a condition or anything. So I would say A whole of fee simple for life.
Okay, so you don't hold fee simple for life. If you hold in fee simple, then that is an estate that is inheritable and you hold it forever. Okay, if you only hold the land for life, you have a life estate. Okay, so I need you to understand this, that the lack of conditions does not make the estate fee simple. Okay, the estate can still terminate. It can still be a life estate just because it is not defeasible. Okay, so remember, fee simple means perpetual. So it's not just that there's no conditions, it never ends. Okay, so Rauletta, can you explain why you think that this conveyance creates these estates?
I think that A has a life estate because his estate will terminate when he dies. And I don't think it's fee simple because I feel like in fee simple, you should be able to determine who gets your estate when you die, whether it's your heirs or some other person that you willed it to. So the fact that it specifies that A's heirs have to get the remainder interest after he dies, that's why I think it's a life estate combined with the remainder.
Okay, so Roletta has accurately read the conveyance. Okay, this is what the conveyance says. What I will tell you is that there are jurisdictions where Marissa is correct, although not for the reasons that she said. That what happens is A holds in fee simple because of a rule in what's called Shelley's case. And in Shelley's case, what it says is that if you have a present interest and a future interest that taken together create some larger estate, then the larger estate is what is held. And specifically, this refers to the possibility that the holder of the present estate's heirs hold the future interest. Because the reason is that heirs don't exist until somebody dies. And so you can't, and so there's no valid holder of the future interest when heirs hold it. Okay? So there are some jurisdictions that follow Shelley's case. There are some jurisdictions that don't, right? So there are jurisdictions that will take, that will say that Rolletta's reading is correct, okay? But you have to check and see, does your jurisdiction follow Shelley's case? Okay, so next, conveyance. To A until they become a lawyer, then to B until they marry. I have a typo there. Until they marry, then to C and their heirs, so long as C never marries a Montague. So, what interests are created by this conveyance? So what do we think? Okay, let's break it down. So who receives the land upon execution of the conveyance? Who gets the land first in time? Okay, A has a fee simple determinable, which determines when he becomes a lawyer, right? So then who has the next interest? So assume that A's interest determines, right? He becomes a lawyer, and so, okay, B has a fee simple determinable. That is B's present interest. So when their interest vests, B will have a fee simple determinable. That's correct, but they don't have that at this time, right? B has a possibility of reverter to fee simple determinable, right? You can describe it as a conditional possibility of reverter, but you have to be clear, right? The possibility of reverter carries in itself that it is conditional. Okay, so you have to be clear that the condition attaches to B's present interest. So when the possibility of reverter vests, B has a conditional fee simple, right? A fee simple determinable. Okay. Or a conditional fee simple determinable, because there is the possibility that B's interest never vests, right? If A never becomes a lawyer. Okay. So assume that A becomes a lawyer, B gets the land, and then B gets married. Who gets the land after that? So B gets married. Who gets the land after that? Let me put the conveyance back into the bottom of the chat so that we can all see it. So B gets married. Who gets the land after that? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So this is the correct way to read the conveyance, right? A holds fee simple determinable. B has a possibility of reverter to a conditional fee simple determinable. C has a possibility of reverter to a fee simple condition subsequent. Okay. here is the wrinkle. You will notice we're doing a lot of wrinkles today. Here is the wrinkle. Restraints on marriage are frowned upon. Okay, we don't like to say that if you get married, you lose your property. Okay, and so there's a strong possibility that the determinable condition on B's interest is void. Okay. It's void. And in that case, in those jurisdictions, B's present interest, when their possibility of reverter vests, B holds in fee simple. Okay. And there is, and because there's a condition, I should add, right, because there's a condition subsequent on C's conveyance, then you do have to, so just to throw this in the chat for you, right? Okay, so if all of these conditions are met, the original grantor gets the land back in fee simple, right? So this is what we were talking about on Thursday. Every conveyance has to have at the end someone who, you know, at the end there has to be a fee simple that is certain to vest. Okay. So if B's condition is void, if it's held to be a total restraint on marriage and is therefore void, then the interests created are like so. Okay. A has the fee simple determinable, B has the possibility of reverter to fee simple absolute. Now, you may be thinking, wait, there's also a restraint on marriage for C. This would be the right question to ask. And the answer is that most of the time, partial restraints on marriage are okay. So a complete restraint on marriage, not okay. Saying you can't marry this person I don't like, or you can't marry before you're this old, or you can't marry this category of people, all allowed in general. Okay, you may find exceptions, but that's the general rule. Okay. Do we understand the rules related to restraints on marriage? Do we feel comfortable with this? Great. Next, conveyance. Again, wrong keyboard. All right. Okay. To A and their heirs, so long as A never joins the Catholic Church. What interests are created here? what interests are created here? Sure, right? But which kind of conditional fee simple? Because there are two kinds. Right, okay, so A has a fee simple subject to a condition subsequent. And what future interests are created? Right. Original grantor has a right to reentry, and when that right of reentry vests, they have what? Exactly. So you would write this like this, right? So A has the fee simple subject to condition subsequent. The original grantor has a right of reentry in fee simple absolute. Okay. Now, here's the wrinkle. Much like with marriage, courts don't like restraints on faith. They see it as meddling in matters of conscience and coercing acts of conscience, right? If you honestly believe that you are called to join the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church or the Muslim faith or whatever faith tradition you are called to, it is inappropriate for someone to prevent you from doing that through the power of controlling your access to your property. So, so when you see a restraint on faith, the future interest, the condition never vests. The condition is void. There's no future interest. And so it would actually be that A has fee simple absolute. Okay? Okay. Great job, guys. Now I'm going to show you what I want you to do with the rest of your time or on your own time this week is here. Here we go. Okay. You go to the course website, you come over here to the this week's block, 19 October to 23 October. You click on the midterm course evaluation feedback activity. You will see that there's 8 questions and I would like you to answer them. Your answers are anonymous, so you don't have to, you can be as nasty as you want and I will never know it was you. But to be very clear, right? The purpose of this is to help me understand what's not working for you guys and also what is working, right? So I want to do more of the things that are working and less of the things that aren't. So it's important for me to hear from you guys about what is and isn't working for you. Okay? All right. So that's everything that I have for you guys. You're welcome to leave if you want. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask them. I'm going to stick around and keep the Zoom open until 9 o'clock. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock. You guys are free to come and go as you wish. Just do the survey and we will we'll get things moving forward, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay? So stick around, ask questions, go about your business, whatever you need to do. Okay? So. Okay, I paused the recording while we were sitting in silence. Sure, two types of conditional fee simple, right? So conditional fee simple, sometimes it's called a defeasible fee simple, just means that it's a fee simple where there's a condition under which it ceases, okay? And that condition is uncertain. If that condition is certain, well, the only one where it's certain is death, right? If the condition is someone's death, then it's a life estate. But if there's an uncertain condition that may happen at some point, then that's a conditional fee simple. But what the event is determines what kind of conditional fee simple it is. So if it's a condition where it's a singular event that happens, okay, so somebody becomes a lawyer, somebody gets married, somebody immigrates out of the Caribbean, right? These are fee simple determinables, okay? If the condition is one where something is going on and then it ceases to exist, it ceases to happen, then it's a fee simple subject to condition subsequent. Okay, and I want to be clear about this, and I've said this a number of times in the lecture. The boundaries between these two are fuzzy, and you can write a conveyance so that the same thing happening is read differently in two different conveyances. So you can write a conveyance, right? You can write a conveyance where the condition is A becomes a lawyer, okay? That's a fee simple determinable. You can write a conveyance where the condition is so long as A never becomes a lawyer, and that's a fee simple condition subsequent, okay? Because the boundaries between the two are fuzzy sometimes, and not always clear. What's far more important to me, rather than asking the question, do you know which of the types of conditional fee simples have been created, it's far more important to me that you understand which future interest goes with which conditional fee simple, okay? With a fee simple determinable, the future interest is called a possibility of reverter, and it is automatic. When the condition occurs and the fee simple is determined, the possibility of reverter vests and the future interest becomes possessory, okay? With a fee simple subject to condition subsequent, the future interest is called a right of reentry, and it does not vest until the lots. You have to go and file a lawsuit. You have to register a claim, right? There's some sort of thing that you have to do, okay? Does this, Charisse, does this help? Does this make more sense now? Great, awesome. Hi, Roletta. The answer is that a contingent remainder is just a remainder interest. So it's a future interest attached to a life estate that has a condition. So, you know, let me see if I can write a conveyance that creates one. Okay, so 2A for life, then to B in their heirs, but if B should predecease A, then to C in their heirs. So C would have a contingent remainder because their remainder only vests if the condition is met. Does that make sense now? It's just a type of remainder where there's a condition that has to be met before it vests, right? There's somebody who stands in front of the remainder men in the chain of title, okay? Great. Is the concept of the contingent remainder applicable where only one party is given a condition? Can you explain what you mean by that? Or possibly show me an example of what you mean? Okay. So there's a couple of things going on here, right? The first one is that if you're in a Shelley's case jurisdiction, there's no remainder, there's no future interest created here, there's no life estate, A holds in fee simple. The other thing is the reference to lineal heirs in some jurisdictions is going to be interpreted as attempting to create a fee tail, which, again, like we discussed when we talked about the fee tail last week, there are places in the Caribbean where that's allowed, but I think it is fair to describe it as going out of favor. We tend to dislike, okay, so remove the lineal condition, right? 2A for life, then his heirs who have become doctors. So again, Shelley's case, jurisdictions that use the merger doctrine, that's a fee simple absolute. But in non-Shelley's case jurisdictions, right? 2A for life, then his heirs who have become doctors. Yeah, I think that's probably valid. That there's a contingent remainder. And if none of A's heirs have become doctors in a non-Shelley's case jurisdiction, what's the last interest that's created? Nope. What did I say in the lecture last week? You always, the last thing that has to be created, there always has to be somebody at the end of the future interest chain who holds in fee simple absolute. That's right, who holds it. Again, you have not described an interest if all you tell me is that there's a fee simple. You have to tell me who holds it. Exactly, right? So if the condition fails, then in a non-Shelley's case jurisdiction, the original grantor has a reversion. In a Shelley's case jurisdiction, A holds in fee simple and the condition falls away, right? Because once A holds in fee simple, they can devise to whomever they choose. And there's no, the condition doesn't mean anything, okay? Does that make sense? Do we understand? Do we understand now? Great. I mean, I would say that subject to the caveats of, only in non-Shelley's case jurisdictions, only without the lineal heirs condition, I would say that there is a contingent remainder. Now, if you wanted to write a conveyance that would do something similar to what Trevon said, I hope I pronounced your name right, Trevon. I hope you'll tell me if I pronounced it wrong. A conveyance that would do something similar would be right. This does something similar, but avoids the possible concern of with Shelley's case, with the Shelley's case rule. Okay, because we're not giving it to the same group of heirs that would have it in the event of a fee simple. Okay. Great, awesome.